budget's approved in May, and it's a month before our fiscal year starts, so around December, January. This is a little later than usual. We usually do a budget amendment like this to account for carryover of items and also to account for items that are coming in higher or lower than anticipated. So this is what this budget amendment represents. And just to kind of summarize, the first few pages is the general fund, and there is a lot of line items on here. Majority of the line items are related to grants. Grant revenue most of the time equals grant expenditures, so you're going to see some ins and outs. And council approved a few ARPA-related grant expenditures over the past few meetings, so all that is accounted for in this budget amendment. But just to highlight a couple of non-grant related items, as you can see on the first page, the first line item in revenue, we're anticipating about a $2.6 million reduction in our estimated courts fine and forfeiture revenue. And I'll be happy to answer questions after I just kind of summarize everything. The other item, some of that decrease in that revenue is offset by approximately $790,000 increase to our state revenue. That's a big number, but it's only about 2.8% increase when you compare it to the actual amount that we received last year. It's just that the original budget was a little conservative in nature, so that's a good thing that that's being increased for there. And that's based on the most recent estimate from the state that was done on January 13th. Also going down, looking at it, there is also an additional $1 million contribution from TCDC. And I can explain that just briefly. What that represents is the TCDC operates the Southwest apartment complexes, and what happened is in order to obtain those items, the city issued bonds that we paid back through what we call the 96 voter levy. So there was a levy associated with that debt that the voters and the taxpayers paid, and it came to approximately $29 million. So that is the city's investment in those properties. So what happens is when those properties make a profit, they have to share that money back to the city to repay that investment. So we anticipated that surplus cash contribution was only going to be $1.5 million. It actually ended up to be $2.5 million after the surplus cash calculations were completed. So that's why we were able to increase there, and that's already been approved by the TCDC board as well. So also the other items of interest revenue is skyrocketing because one of the positives about the federal rate increase is that any cash balances you have in your banks, you're going to receive some more interest. So those are coming in higher than anticipated. And then you have a proceeds from insurance that's related to the church. That's offset by an expense down below for the repairs and maintenance of that church. But to kind of summarize, so the total revenue is anticipated to go 1.1 million. As I said, some of that stuff is related to grants and things like that that are offset by expenditures. So transferring down to the expenditure side, you have a couple miscellaneous items in some smaller departments where all they have is wages and benefits. For example, purchasing, there was a competent absence payoff for someone who left the city that wasn't budgeted for in the original budget, so we had to account for that because there's no other room to pull from another account in that item. The court requested some carryover budget amendments that are included in here. Same thing with the HR department. There was some compensated absences paid off, so that wasn't in the original budget, so we had to account for that. Going down into the larger departments, the police department, you can see there's an increase in overtime that's offset by a decrease in regular wages due to staffing. Any further questions on that, I can point you to the department head, we can discuss that. And then in the fire department, same kind of thing, increase in overtime, offset by some savings in your services or wages because of staffing. So, all that combined, there's also some other, like I said, ARPA-related items, some overtime in some DPW departments that are coming a little higher than anticipated. And when I say anticipated, I look at the current trend.